Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Mr. Shulhanik. I teach at Quest Academy. I teach language arts, social studies. We're here talking with Representative Kinzinger about the Super Tuesday results. Congressman, how are you doing today?
Hey, good. How are you?
Doing well. We have a question from your niece first.
Oh, good. Well, that's always the most important.
Go ahead.
Hi.
What up?
So, now that Bush has dropped out, who will your support to be going towards?
Well, that's a very good question from a very intelligent young lady. Look, I'm with Marco Rubio now. I was sad that Jeb Bush lost, but we kind of saw that coming for a while. And I like Marco. Marco's kind of that next generation young conservative, which I think our party needs. He's got the ability to unite people. He's optimistic. You know, some of our candidates may be a little more dark and negative and mean. And I think as president of the United States, you have to be a little more optimistic and hopeful for the country. And I think as young people, you guys probably agree, you want a president that's going to be happy versus one that's just going to be dividing America. So I'm with Marco Rubio, and I think he's got it's a tough road to go. Obviously, Trump's in the better position for Republicans than any other candidate. But I personally don't think all is lost, and I think there's a chance to win.
Okay, Liv?
Apparently right now Illinois is almost in bankruptcy. What do you think is the best tactic for trying to get Illinois back up?
Yeah, look, Illinois used to be one of the top states in the union. I mean, you look at it, it's right in the middle of this great country. It's got all these roads, bridges, waterways, airports. If you grew up in Illinois, you don't sometimes know like how good we have it compared to other states. Although it's a little cold sometimes, but this winter hasn't been too bad. But government-wise, it's been a mess. It's too big. There's too much spending on the state government, and it's been ruled by just one party for a very long time. So, look, I think both sides are going to have to come together and compromise. Republicans are going to have to recognize that there will probably be some form of a revenue increase or a tax increase to what it was. There used to be higher taxes a year ago. It expired. That's probably going to have to come back. But the Democrats are going to have to make a lot of changes in terms of federal spending. We're going to have to do some pension reform. People that get pensions, we need to make sure that the people that get pensions get their pension, but maybe for the newer people coming in, we make some changes. And we're going to have to change a lot of the work rule issues for the state government. So there's some reforms that need to be done, but both sides are going to have to work together. Just like if, the two of you decide, if a couple of you in class decide you want to go somewhere to eat or do something and you have very different views of where you want to go to eat, you try to find a compromise that you can both agree on. So that's what politics is all about. There hasn't been a lot of that lately.
Nikita?
Okay. What do you make of Chris Christie's endorsing of Trump?
Yeah,
I was very disappointed by it. Chris, he's kind of a tell it like it is guy. I get it. And that's good. We want people that are honest and open. But, Chris Christie knows better. I think part of the reason he did it was because he wants to make a play at vice president under Trump. My problem with Trump is I just don't think he can possibly win. If you look at all the polls, he's the only Republican that loses to Hillary Clinton, and he loses significantly. So that's a concern of mine. I don't think Trump can win. And I was very disappointed Chris Christie did it. But, that's his choice. I thought he looked kind of silly behind Donald Trump.
I saw some things where he said that might be his political downfall. Jacob?
In the event that Trump wins the nomination, would you follow behind him? I know that Marco Rubio has decided that he would not vote for Trump if Trump won the nomination.
Well, I'm not sure Rubio has said that. I think Rubio has said that he will fight him all the way to the convention. As you guys probably know, all these primaries do is decide who the delegates are going to be at a convention, and the convention's where you actually make the decision. Usually it's a foregone conclusion. No, I don't think I can support Donald Trump. I hope to be able to get to a point where I can. I hope he changes his tune. I hope, a lot of the things he said, the I guess, borderline racist stuff and things like that, I hope he recognizes and turns back on that. But as of today, I put my country above my party any day, and my country is more important than the Republican Party. And as of today, I couldn't endorse him. Maybe that will change. I'm not going to say I never will, but I definitely couldn't today.
Jane?
Well, since Trump is such an odd person, why do you think he's getting so many delegates?
Well, it's a good question, but people are really upset right now. I mean, they feel like this is my impression, they feel like we have a weak president. They feel like we're losing kind of our position in the world. We're used to, you guys are young, but in my lifetime, America has always been the most powerful country in the world, and that's a good thing. We're proud of that. We feel like we're losing that position. And the middle class feels like they're really losing, I guess, their position in society, and they have been. I mean, middle class income has dropped an average of $2,300 in the last 7 years. That's real money. Some of you guys maybe come from money and some of you don't. If your parents have a lot of money, $2,300 isn't much. But for some people, $2,300 is the difference between being able to send you to a good school or to be able to buy medicine or food. So people are upset. And so along comes Donald Trump, and he reflects people's anger back to them, right? He says, I'm angry too. Even though he's not saying anything that actually makes sense, he's doing it in a very angry way. And so people feel kind of drawn into that. The fact is, though, I think in politics, and especially when you're running for the most powerful country, the powerful position of the most powerful country in the world, I think you have to show people a way out of that anger. So it's like, hey, look, I understand you're angry. Here's how we're going to get out of it. That's leadership. But right now, unfortunately, that's just not what's tracking with people. I hope it wears thin, and I hope Donald Trump doesn't win.
Lily?
Since Trump is getting so many votes, what do you think it says about the country in general?
About what?
Like, what does it say about the country? I don't.
It kind of did.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I just think it says the country's upset. And hopefully the country will wake up to more than just his tone, but also his words.
To hear?
Do you think Bernie Sanders should basically drop out of the race after what I would consider Hillary Clinton basically demolishing him in Super Tuesday?
I hope Bernie Sanders stays in. Because as a Republican, I like to point out that there's a socialist running for Democratic nomination. However, if I was Bernie Sanders, I would probably drop out and back Hillary Clinton. I don't see Bernie Sanders' path to victory right now. But, look, he's to his credit, and I like him as a person. See, this is the difference. So Bernie Sanders and I probably agree on absolutely nothing. But I respect him and I like him. And I think that's what we need to get back to in politics, where you can have differences but respect each other. I respect him and like him. But, from his perspective, he's done a good job of really bringing these issues to the forefront for the Republican Party. I kind of wished Donald Trump was going to be like that versus our actual front runner. But he's the front runner now.
Okay, great. Okay. So first of all, I think you'd be an exemplary president. So I was watching a few interviews of Donald Trump in the 80s and 90s, and he was saying that, he'd run for president and he would do this, but he said that he was a Democrat, and he made it really obvious that he's a Democrat. So what do you think happened? Why do you think he's running in the Republican race?
Because he wants to win. He's nothing. By the way, if I run for president, you guys better all be friends with Sophia, because then you can come stay at the White House.
You have an invite?
Yeah, I'll whoever she wants to bring. If you're mean to her, you don't get to come. No, listen, Donald Trump wants to be president of the United States, and he'll do whatever he can to get there. The difference between him and I, for instance, there's a lot of differences, but I'm doing this because I'm passionate about what I believe, and I have a set of core principles, and I recognize that you have to negotiate in politics, but I have a set of core principles. I don't think he does. So, At the end of the day, he just wants to be president. And that's what my warning to Republicans. I was on CNN and Fox News yesterday saying to these people, pay attention to his words. Don't just listen to his tone, because when he becomes president, if he does, you need to know what he said, and he's going to surprise a lot of people in a bad way, I think.
Mitchell.
Okay, so John Kasich is a very intelligent man, and I like some of his viewpoints. Do you think he would like to run as Trump's vice president, maybe as Christie as well? Do you think he has a shot running for vice?
I think Kasich's play is to try to be vice president. I think that's what he wants. I don't know if he would pick Trump or not. I mean, I guess he probably would. I mean, who would not want to, be on the vice presidential ticket? The question for Kasich is, he was expected to do well in Michigan. According to recent polls, he's dead last in Michigan. He may win Ohio, but that's about it. He's costing Rubio, for instance, in Illinois. Rubio's in second place, slightly behind Trump in Illinois, but if Kasich was out, I think Rubio would be in first. And you could argue that John Kasich cost Rubio the victory in Virginia. Rubio only lost by 2 points to Donald Trump, and had Kasich not been in the race, Rubio would have won. And it would be a very different narrative today. Instead of Donald Trump having run the table, the narrative would be that how well Rubio did. So he's got a decision to make, and I think he'd take whoever would ask him to be the vice president. But at some point, if he drops out of the race, it'll be interesting to see if or who he endorses.
Trevor.
So I understand that Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz have been calling for a united front in the Republican Party. Donald Trump has been calling for a united front against everybody else. So what do you think about that?
Well, I would love to see Ted Cruz drop out and endorse Marco Rubio. But yeah, I think ultimately it's going to come to either Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio against Donald Trump. And the question will be, who can, is that going to be enough to win? And we'll see. I don't know. I can take about 2 more questions, and then I gotta go do some America stuff.
Alec.
Because Clinton and Sanders have been so neck and neck, why do you think there was such a big gap at Super Tuesday?
Because it's the South, so Clinton's really good among the black vote. They supported her in a very big way. In the South, the black vote is a much bigger percent of northern Democrats. So, and I think African Americans voted like 80-20 for Hillary Clinton. So that made a big difference. And also, the Democrats in the South are typically kind of more conservative Democrats, and Hillary is probably more center-left. She's a liberal, but not near as liberal as Bernie Sanders. So I think in the South, that benefited her. Here's the real story out of Super Tuesday for Republicans, was not really the fact that Trump won. It was the fact that Cruz didn't win as many states as he was expected to. Even up to about 3 weeks ago, Super Tuesday was expected to be like the Ted Cruz show, because he was up in every southern state, and he ended up only winning 3. And it was a good night for him, but not as good as what was expected a while ago. And unfortunately, the media decides what the narrative is, and they decided that it's all in the bag for Donald Trump now. I can take one more.
Last question for me. I feel like Trump was decidedly more subdued in his speech on Tuesday night. Did you see the same thing? And if so, why?
Yeah, I mean, because look, he's a chameleon. He's going to do whatever he needs to do to get elected. And, at the point he feels he has this crazy primary locked up, he'll probably try to appease to a general audience. A general election audience is very different than a Republican primary. Donald Trump likes to say that he won 45% of Hispanics in Nevada. No, he didn't. He won 45% of the 800 Hispanics that decided to show up to caucus. That is very different than winning 45% of the Hispanic vote. And so it's a different audience. So look, he's a chameleon. I expect him to begin to talk like a general election candidate. But I don't trust him. I mean, he advocated for war crimes. As a military guy, you're told no matter if your commander or your commander-in-chief tells you to do a war crime, you can't do it. When Donald Trump says we need to kill the family members of terrorists, that makes us terrorists, because that's why we call them terrorists, because they kill innocent people. Family members of terrorists are innocent people. we have to go after the terrorists. You know, when he says he would do torture even if it's not effective, I'm okay with enhanced interrogation techniques in very rare circumstances, but to say we'll just do torture even if it's not effective, that makes us no different than, you know, the Vietnamese or the Japanese in World War II, or, you know, terrorists themselves. I mean, we've got to live by a higher standard. And if this guy means half of what he says, I'm worried. So, hey, look, I really appreciate talking to you guys again. Have fun the rest of the day. Be nice to Sophia. Hey, Sophia, let me see you real quick. Let me see that pretty face. All right. You guys, thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
I am so impressed with his passion.
Tamara, are you still there?
Sophie, we would like you to.
Yes.
Yeah, go to the White House.
Okay, guys, we gotta go.
You.
Even if he does.
Still running.